Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session on ARM IP Explorer. I'm thrilled to be here with you today with my colleague, Matt Rowley. My name is Eric Sondy. I'm in ARM's IoT line of business, and I look after the deployment and scaling of ARM technology to more and more users. And I do that for SoC design tools and also for software development tools. And so in that capacity, with my colleague Matt, we both together look after the go-to-market and product management of the ARM IP Explorer platform. And we're excited to be here with you today and share an update on the platform. We recently had a release in early April with a new and improved, enhanced ARM IP Explorer platform. So we're going to give you an overview of all of the updates that came along with it. And also, Matt's going to go through an in-depth demonstration of the latest ARM IP Explorer platform. And we should have plenty of time for questions and answers at the end of this webinar. So if you'd like, you can feel free to submit your questions. And we'll look forward to speaking with you after the presentation section. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. And I'm going to start with a little bit of an overview of why we've gone about creating this platform of ARM IP Explorer and what it is. So ARM IP Explorer is a cloud-based IP evaluation and SoC design solution from ARM. It was created to accelerate IP selection, SoC architecture definition, and really jumpstart the design process for SoC architects. And for over 2 years, IP Explorer has been helping SoC architects globally explore, design, and share. And with IP Explorer, you can increase efficiency and productivity by getting started quickly with easy access to all the information you need all in one place. And our new streamlined web-based user experience released in early April includes a new SoC concept feature that really simplifies the SoC architecture definition process, allowing an architect to sketch out a high-level block diagram of their ARM-based SoC or product, configure the IP, and validate the compatibility of the IP in their design. And that really leads to better design quality earlier in your design process. And having these capabilities on a web-based platform allows for more efficient collaboration directly with ARM, but also with our ecosystem of ARM-approved design partners and even your teammates and colleagues, and perhaps even your customers. And that comes along with the ability to easily export the artifacts of your design process, like IP lists, system diagrams, simulation results, and even RTL. With our latest release. So you'll hear a little bit more about that later. And all of that efficient collaboration and connection with the ARM ecosystem and experts and transfer of project information can greatly reduce your overall cost and time to market. In particular, that upfront investment in tools, modeling engineers, and deep expertise in capital equipment that's typically required just to understand what IP you might be most interested in. So this platform is really intended to streamline that initial experience, exploring what IP might be best for your project and start the design process for you. So with that, let's go ahead and have a quick overview of the new ARM IP Explorer platform and how you can explore, design, and share. What we've really focused on over the last 2 years of an early beta was iteratively and rapidly providing some design capabilities to users and learning from them, taking in a lot of feedback. And the result has culminated in this new release from last month, which features a new, intuitive, and simplified user experience designed by user-centered design experts, specifically for SoC architects and hardware designers. And after interviewing architects on their process and hardware engineers on how they go about the evaluation process, the selection decision-making, and the architecture definition, we've been able to bring together a collection of powerful features into a cloud-based SoC development solution created to accelerate IP selection and SoC design. And this journey starts with some rudimentary features of explore and compare, which make it faster and easier to find and compare ARM IP without searching through multiple information sources, and really compare the IP on an apples-to-apples set of holistic attributes. And Matt's going to run through what this looks like and what this enhanced version of explore and comparison looks like. And it's pretty slick. I think you'll be pretty impressed with the way that we present ARM's portfolio to you and make it easy to see all of the information that you might care about all in one place. And once you've done some comparison on ARM IP Explorer, you might be ready to go in a little deeper and specify specific CPU or IP parameter options. And for that, we have a configure feature that lets you define and save your specific IP configurations and variants and derivatives based on changes you might make to the microarchitecture, like cache sizes, or maybe you'll turn on some accelerator capabilities, floating point acceleration, vectorization capabilities, and those configuration options can be set, and you can store those configuration options away. And for ARM CPUs, once you've decided on a range of performance critical parameters and you've defined them, you can proceed to run simulations with industry standard benchmarks, or even your own custom software to benchmark performance and see how your code runs on your configuration of ARM CPU. And that's one of the really powerful capabilities that helps you have confidence in the IP selection decision that you're making at the onset of your SoC design journey. And we've taken that journey and created this new SoC concepts feature that lets the architect create a concept on a canvas, draw and validate a block diagram, really specify the high-level system architecture, bring in all of the IP in the design, ARM IP, make definitions for either in-house custom IP or third-party IP, and specify the interfaces that you'd be using, and some attributes like power, performance, area you might have on those, and validate the IP compatibility of that high-level block diagram. So it's a really streamlined way to jumpstart the architecture definition process for your SoC or ARM-based product. And when you're ready to continue the SoC design process on premises, you can even download the configured and rendered RTL for that concept, or even for any of the IP configurations that you saved off based on the entitlements you have. So if you have access to ARM's RTL on Product Download Hub or PDH, you'll be able to download the configured rendered RTL directly from the user journey on ARM IP Explorer without any installation of configuration tools or config scripts or unpacking IP bundles or anything like that. Now, you can get the unconfigured IP bundles as well, but this really embeds the IP configuration process into a nice continuous journey and lets you access the RTL from that journey and continue your SoC design process with on-prem tools. And I'm just going to give you a little bit more of context, a bird's eye view of how IP Explorer might fit into a journey for a user and help jumpstart the process. So many of our partners sign up for an ARM license or a subscription like ARM Flexible Access or ARM Total Access. And this cloud-based tool gives them a quick start to get instant access to ARM IP Explorer, explore and compare IP, do the things I was just describing, save a concept, collaborate with ARM experts and ecosystem partners, configure IP and run simulations, and then download that configured RTL and other data about their design, concept reports, configuration files that might feed into the full featured Socrates configuration suite. And then when you download the RTL in your project from a web-based ARM IP Explorer experience, you can just continue, download more IP from PDH or download the hardware success kit to continue your SoC design journey and maybe make some models or virtual prototypes of your design on-prem. You can access the software success kit and start developing software for your design and debug that software on premises. And you can also get ARM's world-class tech support, training courses, consultancy services, and design reviews provided by our partner enablement group, and really continue your SoC design journey in a really deep way. And you'll get some more sense of some more features of this as Matt goes through his tutorial shortly, where not only do you get the artifacts I've described, but there are other things that can help. So for example, if we take design reviews, we have this nice design review checklist associated with your configurations and your concepts, so that you can go through and make sure that sanity check some of the configuration options and understand some of the configuration nuances and details associated with the IP you've selected and some of the configuration decisions you made, and make sure you have a great starting point such that if you have a more in-depth design review, that design review will be very efficient, and there's continuity between the project you started on IP Explorer and the design review and consultancy you get from ARM experts or design partners later on down the road. And so if you go through this first start journey and you have a design and you don't know how best to continue, ARM IP Explorer helps move your design into production. It connects you directly to our catalog of ARM approved design partners and ecosystem service providers that can help you with your design. And this basically is easily accessible. You just click on the design partner menu in IP Explorer and you get brought to this partner ecosystem catalog with all of the filters set for the hardware and system design and software design partners that might be applicable to continue your journey with. And this is a list of proven design houses and ecosystem partners that have been carefully vetted through an audit process and have proven expertise on ARM-based designs and can really help you continue your SoC design journey if you need help there. And with that, I think the best way for you to experience the ARM IP Explorer platform is for Matt to go ahead and show you the platform directly. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and hand it over to Matt to go through a demonstration.
Welcome to the live demo. So what I'm sharing with you on the screen at the moment is the homepage of our brand new version of IP Explorer. I'm sure some of you have had a chance to play with it. If you haven't yet had a chance to have a look, please feel free to do so. It'd be great to hear any feedback that you've got on the new version. So the new version of IP Explorer is very much based on the culmination of all of the feedback we've received from partners for the last couple of years we've been running as a program with this new platform. And one of the things that we wanted to do, and one of the things hopefully you'll see in the new version, is to bring together what possibly appeared to be almost a disparate set of applications that existed in our early version into a much cleaner, much more intuitive user journey from end to end. And essentially, we've broken that down into two core journeys that exist. One is an individual IP journey that starts with exploring IP, and you'll see that here from the homepage, and that's broken down by the different types of IP that we've got available in the platform, taking you through exploration into comparison, configuration and simulation, and then rendering and download of the RTL as well. And then the second is a journey that's all around creating a SoC concept. So this is all about taking your configurations of choice and building that into your high-level system on-chip design, and then preparing that and then exporting that in a number of various ways that you can do that. There's also a kind of myriad of ways you can kind of collaborate with other users as well within the platform. So those are two core journeys. We're going to start by looking at the individual IP journey, exploring. We're going to go and click into Explore Processes. So for those of you who've used IP Explorer before, this will look similar to our search application. There's a few kind of key details that are a bit different to what you will have seen before. So one of those is you'll see over here on the right-hand side, there's essentially two lists of things. So the things in yellow, you can see down the bottom, these are the ARM kind of stock CPUs, kind of unconfigured, as they come from ARM's catalog, based upon, for example, the license you might have for ARM Flexible Access or some other program. And at the top, we've got this other set. This other set you'll get to see a little bit later in terms of how these are produced. These are your own versions of our IPs, essentially. So this is where you've gone and you've created your own configuration, save that configuration, and then you can reuse that. You can share it with colleagues, design partners, and others as well. So that's why you see these two things in the list here on the right. To start with, what you can do is you can filter down on the things you're licensed for. And you can also have a look at what your license entails. So in my case here, I've got an ARM Flexible Access license. This is my list of products, and then this correlates to what I've been filtered down to be able to use here on the right. Now, we don't stop you from using any of our CPUs within the catalog. So if you do go and use something you're not licensed for, you can get basically all the way to the end of the journey. You'll be able to configure it. You'll be able to simulate that IP, and you can use that in a SoC concept. But you won't be able to download or render and download it at the end. And that's where you'll need a license. And there's a journey around how you can request access if you don't already have that in the platform. So I'm going to start with a comparison of some of our CPUs. So this is a little similar to how it used to be done in the old version, but I'm going to show you what we've got anyway. So I'm going to pick to compare between an M7, an M85, and an M55. We can click compare. As this loads, you'll see this is very much like comparing iPhones on the App Store. You'll see this kind of side-by-side comparison. Now, this has been, I think, quite nicely improved from the previous version. There's some nice things like the ability to move things around just for easy comparison. You can add more things. You can say, let's say, actually, I want to also just compare an M0 as well to those, just to see how that compares. And you'll see that we can get all of these side by side. And then if it doesn't fit, essentially you get the left and right scrolling as well available. So you can compare as many things as you want to here, broken down by the different areas that we have data for. A lot of this data is the same as what you will have seen on the previous version. We're going through a process at the moment of improving the kind of quality and quantity of this data, bringing in some new features and some new information that might be helpful at this high level to make a kind of initial IP selection decision. One of the areas that we will be bringing in more data, we've kind of made a space for it, and we've got a little bits of this data now, is this benchmark performance data. And this is data that's driven by our simulation service behind the scenes. And you'll be able to see once this has kind of been generated, what's the high level performance metrics for each of these processors against the kind of default configuration, which is a nice way to just eyeball the respective performance using Core or Drystone benchmarks, so you can get an idea of how those performances compare with one another. So once we've got a CPU in this case that we're happy with to continue on the journey, we can click the little button here, which is to open up the new configure kind of screen. You can also get to this screen from the initial explore page as well, so you don't need to go to compare if you don't want to. You can go straight from the beginning into this screen. This screen is a culmination of what was at least 3 applications previously. So back in the previous version, we had over here on the right this pane that used to be the IP details pane within the search application. This is now all here on the right here. This main body of the page is all around the configuration of the IP. But further on down, you'll see there's a section around simulation. So we brought simulation together with configuration, because a lot of our systems are now RTL simulation systems, and because we've now built those around RTL, what we wanted to do was enable you to both configure and then simulate almost in a kind of iterative manner to get to the configuration that you want, and to be able to see as you go the different outcomes of running either your own code or a standard benchmark simulation against that configuration of the CPU. So that's kind of what we've done to bring those things together. So starting on the right hand side, looking at this IP details section, we start with a collection of both kind of technical and what I call more marketing focused collateral. There's lots of useful information in both of these docs. Some of these reach out into other websites. Others of these documents normally would only be available to partners via an NDA as part of the kind of sales process. But what we've done is, as part of your terms of signing up to IP Explorer, you've got access to some of these documents that we surface through this section here on the right. We've also then got a few links to some other things. I'll talk about software templates a little bit later, but you've got links to here to ARM virtual hardware if you want to use that for this processor of choice. We've also got some hardware boards that you might want potentially to get started with. So it's just providing a little bit of information on how you can do that. Some licensing information. And then these are the two new things really for this version. So ARM for a while has offered design reviews to partner. This is a service you can get from our support team at ARM. Design reviews bespoke kind of to your needs, your IP that you're trying to work with and your design. What we're offering here is the beginnings of essentially a self-serve journey around this. So what we've done is we've asked those same experts within our support organization to curate kind of bespoke, ready-made checklists that you can use when you're once you've kind of picked your processor, in this case of choice, or some of the other bits of IP have also got checklists against them. And you can download the checklist. What I'll do is I'll download this here so you can get an idea of what this looks like and what you might want to use this for. This is behind entitlement. So if you've got a license for the Cortex-M7 in this case, you will be able to download this. So that's where you'll see or won't see the ability to download the checklist. This is pretty tiny on the screen, so let me just zoom this in for you so you can just get an idea on what we've got here. And you'll see as we scroll down, there's a number of kind of recommendations that we suggest you look at, all different manner of things in terms of how you might want to configure, for example, your CPU in this case. And you'll spot there's a particular format to these checks. So you'll see there's a lot of this kind of if and else statements in this. This is because at this point you're downloading essentially the vanilla version of this checklist. So this checklist at this point doesn't know what configuration you've set in IP Explorer. So it will just output all of the checks for you and tell you either you check this or you check that based upon the configuration that you're going to pick in the future. But there is another way of doing it. So over here in the main body of the page here, where you can set the configuration, let's say we want to make a change, you'll start here with once you make a change, you need to just save a configuration because it then becomes yours. That we looked at earlier in the Explore screen. So we'll just wait for this to save. There we go. So once we start making configuration changes, and we can just kind of drop down and turn things on and off, we can change some things around. There we go. So we can set some of these values. So we kind of diverge from the default configuration at this point. What you can then do, excuse me, is download the design checklist based upon this configuration that you've just set here. So this is now a more dynamic, more intelligent version of that same checklist. You can scroll in, you'll see, and all of those if then else statements have kind of disappeared, and now you've got the kind of de facto checks that you want to be doing based upon specifically the configuration that you have chosen. So hopefully that's helpful. And then one of the other things you can do over here on the right, just to complete this IP details section, is you can download the RTL. So for those of you familiar with downloading IP from ARM, you'd normally do this using Product Download Hub, again, based upon entitlement. But you can also do that here now in IP Explorer. So more essentially as an on-demand kind of, once you want a piece of IP, you can do that. One of the things that IP Explorer offers that Product Download Hub doesn't offer quite so much is this kind of relationship between core bits of IP and then potentially other bits of IP that are related based upon your configuration, because IP Explorer knows the kinds of things you will need based upon the way that you've set your configurations up. So you can see you've got things like the safety package, the core site, depending on the type of processor, you might have the crypto pack for a Cortex-A processor, etc. So you've got both the kind of base package and then the add-ons. It's as simple as picking the version. These versions are the same versions that you'd find in Product Download Hub. And then it's just a case of clicking to download the RTL, and then it will go away and do that. We'll just wait a moment for it to go and do that. And then essentially off it goes. You can see here, it's doing that download now in progress. And there we go. I've got my download. So in addition to the things over here on the right, the main body of the page, as we mentioned, is all about setting the configuration. It talked about, or just showed you how you might want to start changing things to your own needs, and then you can save that. This becomes a named piece of IP back in the Explore screen. So in this case, I just called it my M7 new, just so I can find that if I went back into Explore. You can give it a description here as well. One of the things you can do is you can also create side-by-side configurations. So let's say you've got a configuration as a baseline, maybe the defaults or one of the ARM preset ones. Then what you can also do is you can then start crafting your own version of the CPU configuration here, and you can kind of do a side-by-side, which is quite helpful once you start thinking about things like simulating the IP. So just to go through some of the other new bits that we've got in this new version. So we do have version support now. So for some of our CPUs, you'll see multiple versions that are available. As I just mentioned, we've got some presets. So each IP has got a default preset and a default configuration. As part of that, we've now added the PPA data as well. So you see some numbers here. These are the ARM estimates. You can replace these with your own numbers. These can be quite useful because these are then driven through into the create concept journey as well. And you'll get to see these in a moment when I show you. And then as you change the default, you'll see if you change the max performance, it updates the numbers, for example, based upon the highest performance configuration we've got available. And all of the configuration will be set as per that as well. So that's a nice starting point to be able to set presets to get a particular PPA potentially from the CPU. And then in terms of simulation, we've now got simulation split into two kind of discrete areas. So we've got what was the kind of classic simulation that we've offered from the beginning. And you can do this simply by clicking on new, and you'll get a list of the standard benchmarks that you're probably familiar with, Drystone, CoreMark, etc. This is where you also upload your custom software if you want to run it. And this journey can start in one of two ways. So you can either download the examples directly from IP Explorer as a start point. These examples include versions of our standard benchmarks to get you going. And then the idea is that you then create your own piece of code. You can upload either the source code or you can upload a binary if you want to compile it yourself. As part of that journey, you just specify if you're not going to compile it yourself, which compiler you want it to be run against. We've got ARM compiler and GCC in various versions. And then you also just specify which, in this case, which CPUs or simulation systems you want this to be runnable against, so that you can reuse this in different places within IP Explorer. In addition to being able to start here from just downloading directly, you can also use GitLab. It's a nice place to just kind of manage that source code yourself. So as we iterate our versions in the future, you'll be able to do the same, so that your custom software might be kept up to date, and then you can re-upload that again in the future. So that's how you go about doing that. And then to run a simulation, it's as simple as picking one of the benchmarks or your own piece of custom software. If you need to, the compiler, you've got a few options, predominantly around debug, and whether you want the trace and the waveforms. Have a look at the simulation system image, and then you've got these kind of system parameters, largely delays, that you can set if you want to. And then it's just a case of going off and running that. Now what we do now is we give some idea on how long it's going to take. You'll see this one, it says it's going to take 9 minutes or so to run this. This is based upon historic data, so we improve the estimates as we go. The more data we have of how long they take, the better the estimation is going forwards. But because it's going to take a while, as is the case for downloading, what happens is you can go away and you'll be notified when this is completed. So we've now got a notification service that supplies notifications in email as well as in tool to tell you when, in this case, the simulation is completed, so you can come and have a look at the results. In terms of the benchmark performance, we also offer the headline, Drystone, and CoreMark performance numbers against each configuration. So by default, against the default configuration, you'll see the numbers already pre-populated. We kind of store those. If you change the configuration like I have, then you'll get this generate button. All you need to do is then click, and it will go away and essentially regenerate the benchmark numbers for you and populate those. So this is just being able to have a nice way of eyeballing the respective performance as you're going and changing the configuration. Okay. And then finally on this screen, the ability to render and download the RTL. So once you've done all of that, once you've done your configuration, your simulation, you're happy with what you've got, then you can then render it if you want to, and then download the RTL directly. And this will download that configured version of the RTL. This again will take a little bit of time. It says here it might take a couple of hours. It's really dependent upon what it is that's being rendered and how complex it is in terms of what it needs to do. So again, you'll be notified when it's ready. This part is also behind entitlement, as you will imagine. So some of you may see contact sales as an option if you don't see render or download. That will be for one of two reasons. So either it will be maybe your company doesn't yet have a license for this particular piece of IP, and then there's an opportunity to potentially get that license so that you can get access to the IP. Or it might be that your company does have access, but maybe you as a user doesn't yet have access because you're maybe not allowed to download the IP. In that particular situation, one of the things we're going to be offering in the future is the ability for partners to be able to kind of administer their users who can download IP from ARM. So you'll be able to interact with that journey in the future. For now, it will just be a request that comes in that we can work through how you can get access if you need it to be able to download. Okay, so the final thing to say on the individual journey is once you've done all of that, one of the other things you can do is you can share the IP. So you can do this in a couple of ways. The kind of simplest way is through the invite process. You just need to put an email address in, set the permissions you want, whether it's just a view or to give full access to editing. Again, the user that you're sharing this with will get an invitation to come and to be able to collaborate on this particular piece of IP. If they're an IP Explorer user already, they're able to log straight in and start interacting and collaborating with you. If they're not an IP Explorer user, they'll be asked to sign up as part of that process, and then they'll be able to start working with you on this. And you'll get a notification as the person sharing it when the user is accepted and actually got access to start collaborating with you. So let me take us back now to the home. So that's essentially a individual IP journey, and hopefully you've seen that you can go from explore into compare into configure, simulate, render, and download as kind of as an end-to-end journey for each of our IPs. I showed you processes, but it's exactly the same for the other bits you can see here in the platform. The other thing that we're going to look at today briefly is the SoC concept creation journey. So you'll see on this screen, this is a list of ones that I've created previously. The ones that are kind of dark, you see that the icon's slightly different. These ones are my own ones. This particular one here is something that's been shared with me. We are in the process of changing slightly how this presents itself, but as you can see, you can kind of collate your own concepts as well as work on collaborative efforts. The other thing you've got here is the template. So this list of templates will be ever increasing in the future. We do have, I think, 7 or 8 SoC subsystems that we have the ability to support, and we'll be adding those in due course into IP Explorer. We'll be adding them in 2 ways. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what it looks like at the moment, and then I'm just going to tell you the other way that it will also be available to you very soon. So this is creating a SoC concept based upon the SoC 050 subsystem template. And here it is. So at the moment, this is essentially a single block. You get a visual representation of the block itself. You can connect in and out of it if you want to with other bits of IP. You can also configure this. So we can drop into the configuration screen. Oh, well, we should be able to. Apologies for that. I'm not sure what happened there. Let me just open this back up. Okay, so you can go and configure it. You can also add comments on this. And then once you've configured, you can do the render and download, a little bit like what we showed earlier. So this is one of the 2 ways we'll be offering templating within IP Explorer. The other way will be also from this create SoC concept journey, and it will be available in here. And what that will do is it'll be essentially a second way of creating these subsystems. It will be all the individual blocks themselves of IP all connected up on the canvas so that you can, if you want to change the connections, break the break the kind of out of the box and create your own from that start point, you'll be able to do that as well. So you're essentially going to have the best of both worlds in terms of the power of the individual IP, but the simplicity of the single block subsystem solution as well. So you'll be able to do both of those things in due course. What we're going to do now is we're going to create a brand new SoC concept. So all we need to do is you just need to give it a name. Now, at the moment, none of these other fields are mandatory. So you can see, we can scroll down, there's some bits of information on here. I would recommend, if you, where it's all possible, to fill in this information, because what we're going to do in the future is start driving some of the recommendations and some of the choices available from data that you tell us in terms of what you're trying to do with the SoC concept. So we'll be able to tailor some of the recommendations on particular bits of IP you might want to use, for example, based upon what you tell us in here. So once we create this new SoC concept, you can see here it is literally a blank canvas. We've got some target power and area data, and total power and area data here at the top, which will get populated as we go. We've also got here on the right a few different options that we'll look at shortly. How you would typically start is we start with adding our first IP onto here. You can start with any piece of IP. You don't have to start with a processor, but generally, if you start with a processor, everything kind of flows from that in terms of the recommendations that we offer. So given we were looking at the M7 earlier, I'm going to add this to the concept. You'll also see at this point, we talked earlier about being able to store your own version of the IP. You can pick one of those as well. So your own configuration, in this case, maybe of an M7, you can add that to the concept instead, or we can start from scratch. I'm just going to start with the stock ARM M7. You've got that PPA data here as well, and you'll see it totals up the total power and area. And as you add other bits of IP that might also have power and area data as required, then it'll add up that total, and you can set your own target data to see how you're achieving those numbers as well. We then can add our next piece of IP. We're going to add an interconnect. You'll see that by default, it drives you towards selecting things that are compatible. In this case, the NIC 400 is the compatible interconnect for the M7. So we're going to add this to the concept, and you'll see there it goes. It's just added this straight to there. We can then add a third piece of IP. Let's, for example, add a piece of system IP. And again, it's data driven. It will tell you all the bits of system IP that are compatible. So we can just add one of these, for example, to the concept. And that's it. And this is essentially how you start crafting your SoC design on this canvas. Now, if you're familiar with how the canvas on our old version used to work, it was pretty kind of complex. You had to kind of drag and drop all the blocks yourself. You had to create your own connectivity, specifying all the interfaces and all the other information you needed to create something that was kind of logical and that worked. On the face of it, this is far simpler. So this is more about high-level selection and then driving compatibility so that you get a connected set of IP that can be that kind of initial basis for your SoC design. But whilst it might look like this is simply boxes and lines that have been drawn, behind it, behind the scenes, is a lot of logic that's being derived for you automatically. So all of the interfaces, all the connectivity is actually being kind of derived for you as you select these bits of IP. And you can then go and continue your journey, potentially, let's say, in the Socrates tool. And so how you do that is you can go to export, and you can export the Socrates file here directly from the canvas. And in that file has got all the connectivity. It'll have all the interfaces specified. So there's a lot more power than maybe meets the eye with what you're doing here in terms of connecting compatible bits of IP together. And then in terms of other things you can do, so you can get to the configure screen from here for any of the bits of IP that are indeed configurable. And you can go and do that in similar ways to what I showed you earlier on the individual IP journey. Over here on the right, you can collaborate as well. So you can collaborate in exactly the same way you can on individual IP. And then you can also do some commenting. So once you've got your collaboration, maybe you want to start adding some comments. Sorry, this is extremely small, probably on your screen. You can start adding comments. These comments then work with notifications as well that will land in your inbox to say a new comment has been put. You can put a comment on a concept or on an individual piece of IP, like you can here, etc. So that's how you do that. And then once you've got your design as you want it, essentially, and go as complex as you want to at this point, then you've got how you kind of end the journey today is you can then export that. So you can export either an image, or you can export a PDF with some additional metadata. We just mentioned the Socrates file. And then you've got the two other ones. So one is the design checklist, which is to grab all the checklists available for all the IPs you've added to your SoC concept as a bit of a shortcut. And then finally, the export of the RTL. And this is driven by your entitlement. You can render all of everything you're licensed for. You can then download everything you're licensed for, or you can do it individually. And you'll see, here's an example of, I was mentioning earlier about the contact sales journey. So in this particular instance, I'm not entitled to download this NIC 400. So I don't have the download option here. And that's essentially how it works. Okay, so I think I will pause there. Hopefully that's been helpful. That's the whistle stop tour, individual IP journey.
Thank you very much, Matt. That was a very comprehensive overview of the new platform. And we're hoping that you'll be able to try it out and give us some feedback. So the best way is to just get started today. If you have an ARM account, you can go ahead and scan the QR code or visit the link on your screen and go ahead and log in. If you already have a relationship with ARM, you're an ARM partner, or you license our tools or any ARM technology, you'll automatically have access to log in with your ARM account. If you don't have an ARM account, you can just go to the same link and create an ARM account in order to log in. And if you don't currently have any entitlements to our IP or licenses to any ARM technology, you can still go ahead and create an ARM account and register, and you'll quickly get access to ARM IP Explorer. It's available to anyone with a valid ARM account that requests access, even if you're not a partner or a licensee. And we have just a range of users from our traditional ARM partners to members of the ecosystem that provide software services or MLOps or cloud service providers that take advantage of the benchmarking platform, or even just some of the comprehensive information about ARM technology that's available on ARM IP Explorer. So while the platform is designed for SoC Architects, it goes beyond. And so we would love for you to try it. We'd love to get your feedback. You can contact us at ipexplorer@arm.com and contact us with anything from questions, comments, issues, problems, bugs that you find. To continue the conversation, reach out at ipexplorer@arm.com. And please go ahead and try the platform by scanning the QR code and logging in or registering. Thank you very much for your time. It's great to see you, and see you on the platform. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.